Hi, I'm Bill Hader. I'm at Amoeba, and I asked to be on What's in My Bag. Okay, so I'll probably go in chronological order. When I was a kid, I was super into hair metal, like Def Leppard and stuff like that. And then when I turned 12, my dad gave me this big box of different music. He's the only guy I know who hates the Beatles because he grew up, he was a kid, a teenager in the 60s, and he's like, all you heard was the Beatles and the Doors. So he gave me this box, and in it was Pink Floyd, and then this album, Over-Nite Sensation by Frank Zappa. And then also Apostrophe by Frank Zappa. So both those records were in there. They just came out with these 50-year anniversaries, which I said, hey, Dad, those albums are 50 years old, and made him feel old. This is the iteration of Frank Zappa's band that I really like. Ruth Underwood and Chester Thompson was on drums, all these people, but it was an amazing band. And this has Camarillo Brillo on it, and it also has a 73 version of Inca Roads, which is a great song. It also has Dynamo Hum, which is not a great song. A little misogynist, like a lot of his shit. So even as a kid listening to Dynamo Hum, I was like, this guy's kind of a dick. But I do like the musicianship. And then the other person, but I didn't get a record because I have them all, but it was David Bowie. And I've been looking for this because it's the only one that's text by David Bowie.
I never wanted to be a rock and roll star, and I found I enjoyed writing. The only thing I was ever really good at school was composition. I could always write better stories than anybody else.
So the photographs by Mick Rock, but he actually wrote the stuff in there. So every book on Bowie I always get people writing about him, but this one is him writing. So I'm very excited to get into this.
A lot of my songs were very illustrative and picturesque, so I thought rather than just sing them, which would probably bore the pants off everybody, I'd like to kind of portray the songs.
He's one of my, and I'll be all like a lot of people. It's nerdy when you get with people who like David Bowie.
Why? What happens?
I don't know, when I met Fred Armisen, we were super into it, and then he was like, The Lodger's amazing, and I was like, I haven't really, The Lodger and Scary Monsters, those are two that I'm like, I don't know, and he's like, no, Bill, you have to read those, Bill, you have to listen to him, Bill, you must. Now those are two of my favorite records of his. I listen to him now all the time. This is a big one for me since I was a kid. De La Soul, 3V High and Rising.
On the dial, my buddy talks to me for a while. Plug 2 is the cue to her tip. On the A side or sometimes the flip. Never gonna flip this record.
I love this record so much. I was 11 when this came out, and I wore the tape out. I listened because it was genuinely great songs, great lyrics. The production is amazing. I still think about it, and it was genuinely hilarious, incredibly funny.
Now you tease my plug 1 style and my plug 1 spectacle. You say plug 1 and 2 are hippies nowhere, not just pure plug 4.
The opening game show thing on this, I quote, still.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I like Twizzlers and I like the Alligator Bob, and my favorite drama movie is Blood-Sucking Freaks, just like your mama. You know it's gonna be swell and I wanna win all the money.
It's like a shorthand. I did the movie It 2, and Isaiah Mustafa's in that movie, and then one day they were like, all right, we're gonna give you guys your petty cash, and I said, I'm gonna get all the money. And he went, I'm gonna get all the money. And we're like, ah! And now it's like a friend, like love, So yeah, this one, huge, very important record.
We could live in my plug 2 home and on Mars where we could be all alone. And we make a song for two picture perfect things, and I sing of how I know I love you better.
Also around that time, I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and my friend took me to Starship Records and Tapes, which was a really cool kind of like indie record store that was like a head shop as well. It was probably the same since like 1967 or something. He'd pick out these two punk CDs, Minutemen and this live Bad Brains record. He was looking for the first, like the really important, like the big Bad Brains record, the first one, and we couldn't find it. And so he was like, oh, okay, I guess we'll have to get this one. But I remember looking at the back and being really surprised that HR, it wasn't vocals, it was throat. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So this was a big one. I remember putting this on when I got home and just going, they're still one of my favorite bands, Bad Brains. And then this is my other favorite, one of my favorite punk bands, Minutemen.
It's what I feel, it's what I taste.
I came here looking for this documentary, which I highly recommend if you could find it, We Jam Econo, which is a great documentary about the Minutemen.
We Jam Econo.
This idea where you make up your own entertainment, you know, this whole idea of DIY and stuff.
You don't have to be part of any machine, except maybe your own.
I saw Mike Watt once and was too shy to say anything to him. I was like, that's Mike Watt, you know? And I just kind of stared at him. And George Hurley and D. Boone, obviously. I mean, they're just, I will sit and watch YouTube videos of their concerts, just like wishing I could be there, but wishing I was standing, I would stand in the back because I didn't want to get spit on, you know? And the other band that I loved from that time was the Misfits. I was a huge Misfits fan, and then also the Ramones, obviously. Now, this is a documentary about the Ramones, end of the century. It's a great documentary.
And all the amps couldn't take it, but now we got these amps that they work.
I picked this because, one, I've been looking for it for a while, but I had a copy of this at SNL, and it was in my dressing room. And John Mulaney, Fred Armisen, and I would watch this sometimes, because there was a lot of waiting around time at SNL. And we would watch this, and we would quote it constantly, and mostly Dee Dee.
Joey, I don't know, he was difficult. He used to leave his brother's albums on the radiator, they'd be melted, steal everybody's hash, I think.
There's a part in it where I think Dee Dee goes, yeah, Johnny was really smart, you know, like, he was smart, like he could make cheeseburgers and make French fried potatoes.
At 21 years old, that's like pretty cool thing to do rather than eat some dope and potato chips.
And so we would always walk around going, oh yeah, they're smart, they can make cheeseburgers. Warren's smart, he can make French fried potatoes. And so we would just talk like Dee Dee Ramone, and it was all based on this.
People try to make me out like I was like some rough character. I was just a bass player in the Ramones, you know. They should take a look at themselves, you know.
I'm a big movie fan. I love Errol Morris. This is his second movie, Vernon, Florida. He was trying to make a documentary about a place in Florida called Nub City, Vernon, Florida, where these people were cutting off their limbs for insurance money.
Did you hear that?
And so he went there and he couldn't find any proof of this, so he ended up just profiling the people in this town. And it is like a very strange, existentialist, very funny profile of these very strange people.
You ever seen a man's brains? This sure is a gopher.
We don't have too much traffic coming through now. Why the people, they don't know for sure if we have a police officer on duty here or not.
I find this movie like incredibly moving, but also very like hypnotic. Please, if you could find it, Vernon, Florida is fantastic.
I run a business. I close business down if I have to go turkey hunting. It's just something that I like. It's just in me. It gives me the turkey fever. Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I watched a lot of old movies like this, The Big Clock, directed by John Farrow, Mia Farrow's dad. The reason I like this one is it's got Charles Lawton and his friend in it, his sidekick, in the movie is played by George McCready, who's another old actor that I love. And both their voices, they're just the best.
I play it for drama and suspense. I'm tired and run down. I need a vacation. I should take an ocean voyage.
What I love it is that George McCready's name is Steve in the movie. And so it's these kind of Victorian, Charles Lawton being like, well, Steve, and it's like, it's Steve here. Steve, could you come? And every time they say Steve, I would just start dying laughing.
Just ideas, Steve.
Put yourself in her place, Steve.
Steve.
How about Steve?
Steve. I just killed someone.
Then why did you kill her?
I don't know, Steve.
But it's outside of the Steve stuff, it's very funny.
You have a macabre sense of humor, Steve.
Another guy I love is a guy named Val Lewton. He made these horror films. After RKO did Citizen Kane and it, cost a lot of money, they were like, we got to make low-budget movies and things like that. So they brought in this guy, Val Lewton, who used to work for David Selznick. They would give him a title, like Isle of the Dead or Bedlam. The first one was called Cat People. He would have to make a movie based on the title, and he was this very smart guy, and he brought in Jacques Tourneur and Mark Robeson and Robert Wise, who did, West Side Story, Sound of Music, and they all cut their teeth on these really great horror films. And this is my personal favorite, Isle of the Dead, with Boris Karloff.
You think I'm a cold man, cold and brutal. It's my way. No one may leave the island.
We face death here, evil things.
It is absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy you guys have this, because I had it, and then I lost it.
Volvolaka, born of evil.
Volvolaka, what's that?
An elemental wolf spirit.
Can a Volvolaka in her human form remember the evil that she did at night?
Another one of my favorite horror people is Vincent Price. This is great, because you get Ray Milland in Panic in Year Zero, which is a great movie, but also Last Man on Earth, which is the first adaptation of I Am Legend, the Richard Matheson book.
Freaks! Mutations! All of you freaks!
But I like this because it's the movie where Vincent Price is like an ordinary Joe, and it's just really funny.
Don't be afraid.
He's like a guy, who drinks a beer, but it's Vincent Price, Dana Gould is a friend of mine, and we were talking about this.
What I love the most about Vincent Price is at one point in his life, he was single. And I just can't imagine him at a big Hollywood party. I think the one in the blue dress really digs me.
There's a moment where he's trying to make something, he's experimenting with something to cure this kind of vampirism that's happening. It doesn't work, and Dana Gould says he should go, oh, faddle. He's just not a dude, but it's him trying to play a dude. And then this I've never seen. So this is the only thing I've never seen. I had a very sweet hairdresser from Australia, and we talked about Australian movies. And I go, I just saw this documentary called Not Quite Hollywood about exploitation movies. And she went, oh, you got to see Bad Boy Bubby.
2 of those wonderfully fattening chocolate eclairs, please, Sam.
Yes, 2 of those wonderfully fattening chocolate eclairs, please, Sam.
And I went, oh, okay. And then the whole movie, she kept coming up to me and going, have you seen Bad Boy Bubby yet? And then like teasing my hair, getting ready. And was like, so have you seen Bad Boy Bubby yet? And she said that so many times. Have you seen Bad Boy Bubby yet? So the minute I saw this over here, I just heard her voice. So Claire, I'm gonna finally see Bad Boy Bubby. My friend Greg Kirsten, who's a record producer, he's written songs for Adele and all these people. He's an amazing guy, but he introduced me to jazz music, because forever I was like, jazz or whatever, and he's like, no, and this was the first thing he gave me, Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers with Thelonious Monk. I'm forever grateful for Greg. He's like one of the great guys. I love Greg. So now we have like kind of a whole thread of like, oh, I listened to Lee Morgan or this, and he's constantly sending me stuff. So it's very sweet, but this is where it all started, and I don't own it, so that was nice. Last couple things. I love this record, New Beak. Dave Wingo, the composer of Barry, turned me on to these guys, and they're awesome. Everybody go get Beak. This is my friends, the OCs. I love these guys and I love their new record, but I don't have the CD, so I wanted to own it. John Dwyer. On Barry, I asked him we did a whole section to the song The Wizard by Black Sabbath. It was too long, like the song was too short. So I asked him, I go, could you elongate it, just this one part, like do a cover of the song and elongate it? And he was like, that's sacrilege, dude, fuck you. He's like, you don't fuck with Sabbath. And he was right. I love Dan Clowes. I'm a huge Dan Clowes fan. I really like comic books. I just recently started getting back into them, and I sold a lot of them. And then I got this new bookcase in my house, and I'm like, I'm gonna go on eBay and stuff and find all my old comic books. But I used to own this, but I'm a huge fan of Dan Clowes.
My characters think too much. Most good protagonists tend to be people who sort of act first and don't ask any questions, and my characters tend to sort of analyze everything and think about it and try to like avoid conflict and stuff, and that's my way of thinking usually.
I have 3 daughters who are between the ages of 15 and 10, so I'm a Taylor Swift shirt. I got them Olivia Rodrigo, and then for the youngest, Misfits. I gotta start them early. This is gonna make her cry. It's gonna scare the shit out of her. I don't care. I'm gonna be like my dad. This is my version. I mean, nothing against Olivia and Taylor Swift. I actually have grown to really enjoy their music. Chappell Roan as well, and Gracie Abrams, all that stuff. It plays in my house constantly, and I do enjoy it, but hey.
I bet you don't do it, Jordan. Because that's no good. I bet you never knew you were good.
I'm gonna put this out and she'll be like, there's 1 tear. All right, that's all my stuff.
You're the perfect guest for this.
Oh, okay, cool.
And also, you found so much good stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
I did notice it was a lot of CDs. You're not a vinyl guy, I guess.
No, so I'm not a vinyl guy. My kid, my oldest actually got a record player, so she's playing vinyl. The reason I don't have vinyl is because I have so many books and so many DVDs that if it's like vinyl, it'll be like, this is a weird comparison. It's why I never did cocaine, because I would love it. Everybody would be like, here's how I feel on cocaine. I'm like, I want to feel like that. So I can't do it because it'll ruin my life. That's how I kind of feel about vinyl. I was like, if I just dip my toe into vinyl, I'll go bankrupt. So I've been that way since I was in my early 20s, because all my friends had vinyl, and they all had like you watch those punk documentaries and they're always interviewed in front of all their vinyl, and there's always like weird toys and shit. I was like, I can't do it. But my daughter's getting into it.
Hopefully it won't be like cocaine for her.
If it is, that's her problem.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much.
Amoeba.